If the sound of that one, then Paul should be, Paul is like, wherever Paul comes in, the sound should be Paul. Okay. Whenever he, oh. Appreciate it. Thank you. Check. We need to go and check with them. Sound is done.
प्रणाम
नमस्कार.
Pranam Swamiji.
Namaste, welcome. Thank you. This is not working. Yeah, let it be. Yeah, that's true. We'll start. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya Aviravirmayedhi. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavi bhiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Bhurida Janaha. Let we be protected, let we be nourished. Let we strive with energy and vigor. Let our study be enlightening and not give rise to hostility. Om peace, peace, peace. Lead us to truth and not to untruth. Lead us to enlightenment and not ignorance. Lead us to immortality and not death. Let the self-manifest Atman grow in me. Om peace, peace, peace. Your nectar-like words and warm and inspiring life stories, eulogized by learned sages, are indeed eradicator of shoots of ignorance. These are auspicious to hear and propitious to inculcate in one's life. Those who take these words to the world are indeed great benefactor of the world. We are studying Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. The life and the way of living of Sri Ramakrishna. But it includes some of his companions also. And here a brief discussion of Narendra, how he was raised, how he was educated, and also what are the important points that one should have as an aspirant. Because this is very intricate matter. As we have already discussed yesterday, from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, when a Brahmo devotee asked him, "Sir, is it not possible to," let me read it, a Brahmo devotee, "But sir, sir, can't we realize God without complete renunciation?" And Sri Ramakrishna answered, "Of course you can. Why should you renounce everything? You are all right as you are following the middle path, like molasses, partly solid and partly liquid." So this is a very important question. Yes, one can realize God while living in the world. But then Sri Ramakrishna said, let me read from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. He said, why shouldn't one be able to realize God in this world? King Janaka had such realization. Ram Prasad described the world as a mere framework of illusion. But if one loves God, loves God's hallowed feet, then there is no then, he said. This world, this very world is a mansion of mirth. Here I can eat, here drink and make merry. Janaka's might was unsurpassed. What did he lack of the world or the spirit? Now Janaka was a king Janaka who was a king, but he was a Brahmagya. That's why it is called Rajarshi, who is king and Rishi also, seer, king and seer together. So Rajarshi. So this is regarding Janaka, who did not renounce the world. He was in the world, was managing a kingdom, and not like today's king or president, who is only a figurehead. But that time king had to manage everything. External affairs, even internal, whatever, everything. So it is being said about him. So what did he lack of the world or the spirit? Holding to one as well as the other, he drank his milk from a brimming cup. Not only that, we find our presidents, our president of Ramakrishna Math and Mission. They are great. They say Swami Brahmanandaji. They know are a Brahman, but they also manage the Sangha, the order. Now he goes ahead. But one cannot be a king Janaka all of a sudden. No, people think, okay, it's easy. I'll become a Janaka. But what happens? It is not that easy. Janaka at first practiced much austerities in solitude. Even if one lives in the world, one must go into solitude now and then. Why? To find oneself. Otherwise, one is so engrossed in the world, he'll forget his goal of life. So one should have some retreat, some contemplation in solitude. It will be of great help to a person if he goes away from his family, lives alone, and weeps for God, even for 3 days. Even if he thinks of God for 1 day in solitude, when he has the leisure, that too will do him good. So people shed a whole jug of tears for wife and children. But who cries for the Lord? How now and then one must go into solitude and practice a spiritual discipline to realize God. So like japa, meditation, these are important. And satsang, that's very, as Ramakrishna said in other places, sadhu sangha, satsang. And to sing the glories of God. So now and then one must go into solitude and practice a spiritual discipline to realize God. Living in the world and entangled in many of its duties, the aspirant during the first stage of spiritual life finds many obstacles in the path of concentration. While the trees on the footpath are young, they must be fenced around. Otherwise, they will be destroyed by cattle. The fence is necessary when the tree is young, but it can be taken away when the trunk is thick and strong. then the tree won't be hurt even if an elephant is tied to it. So this is, as Sri Ramakrishna is Bhavaroga Vaidyam. He says, disease of worldliness is like typhoid, and there are a huge jug of water and a jar of savory pickle in the typhoid patient's room. If you want to cure him of his illness, you must remove him from that room. The worldly man is like the typhoid patient, and various objects of enjoyment are the huge jug of water, and the craving for their enjoyment is his thirst. The very thought of pickles makes the mouth water. You don't have to bring them near, and he's surrounded with them. So here, all the enjoyment that is available in the world. So it is like, as in Vivek Chudamani, Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, it is like hoping to cross a river riding on a crocodile. That is why there must be discrimination. What is good for my spiritual life? What is a spiritual life? To discover one's real self. You know, in the world, if you go, you cannot have peace. But as of now, we cannot stop. Therefore, okay, have a little fun. But after that, you have to realize that joy is within us. Joy is not outside. Bliss is within us. And it is wrong to try to find others in others. You cannot find. We expect things from this world, but it is hoping against hope. We should not expect anything from this world. So this is a bit difficult until or unless one crosses this situation. One is not fit for a spiritual pursuit. So anyway, why I brought this? To show what an aspirant should be. So here, the aspirant is Narendranath. How he felt to have realization of God. What he did, how he lived a life. Because when an incarnation descends to this world, he gives example, like teaching, as through Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is teaching. But there should be some concrete example. What an aspirant must have. What are the qualifications that one should have? So, without taking much time, let us see how Narendranath felt for truth and what he did, how he practiced. These are very important points. Now the story goes very fast. Why? It is descriptive. So not much to talk about, but we have to see how Narendranath proceeds in the path of spiritual life. See, again, spiritual life is not something extraordinary. It is our life. It is our being. We are to live this being. What is our real self? What is being? What is myself? We are to discover this. If we know the whole world, but we don't know ourselves, it is worthless. So first we must know what is ourself and how to achieve it. If we can fulfill that, then everything is at your doorstep. as Jesus said, first seek the divine, the kingdom of heaven, and everything will be added unto you. But somehow we forget this. It is not our fault. This is the way this world is created. Therefore, not to worry about. After creation also, he gave a key point also, a key. So if you open this, then there is no problem. Otherwise, there is no end of this rigmarole and this suffering. So without taking much time, let us go back to our the study. Yes, please.
5. Narendra's dilemma: whether to adopt Eastern or Western methods in his pursuit of truth. Western philosophy and science had taught Narendra that stimuli from the senses and the brain are constantly creating various reactions in the mind, producing pleasure and pain. Our experience of those reactions is mediated by space and time. We are therefore ignorant of the real nature of the external world and the objects within it that create those stimuli and the subsequent responses. This situation is similar to the internal world and the real nature of human beings, where it is evident that an unknown entity is generating I consciousness and other thoughts in the mind, but we cannot understand that entity because its real nature is beyond space and time. Whether people try to explore the ultimate truth, either internally or externally, they are thus obstructed by the impregnable wall of space and time and are rendered completely helpless. Thus, Narendra learned the futility of trying to unveil the mystery of this universe using the 5 sense organs, the mind and the intellect, because those instruments are completely inadequate to reveal the ultimate cause of the universe. He realized that people busy themselves in building arguments and drawing conclusions based on sense perceptions, which are full of errors and misunderstandings. He became aware that Western savants had utterly failed to discover whether the self existed separately from the body. For that reason, the Western philosophers' final conclusions regarding spiritual truth did not appear reasonable to Narendra. So he began to question which path he should take. Would it be better to follow the Western ideal and build philosophical truths based on the perception of those who were attached to material objects? Or should one search for philosophical truth by following Eastern philosophy, founded upon the realizations of Buddha and other great souls, which are extraordinary even though they are contrary to what ordinary people perceive?
So here, one point to understand. See, Western way. If you ask a doctor how we are human being, they'll say it is all chemical process. And the material is there. And when it gathered because of electromagnetic gathering, say, in the beginning, there was some elements in this. And then it came with what we say amino acids, many amino acids. Then they were joined together. And then gradually amoeba was formed. And before that, say virus, a kind of virus. And then amoeba, unicellular organism, came to being. And gradually multicellular, then vertebrate, invertebrate, then vertebrate, then species, aves, and then mammals came. And mammals also so many, and then came ultimately human being. So it is how it came. It came because of organization of various organic matter. Therefore, whatever is happening, it's happening because of chemical action and reaction. See how we perceive something. We perceive something, light comes to our eyes, then it reaches to our brain and some changes happen, chemical changes, and then we perceive. So this is Western way. Even psychologically also, psyche is spirit. But if you ask psychologists, they are talking about only mind and perception, etc., various action and interaction, not about the spirit. Now let us take that doctor's view. Now everything happens because of some chemical action and reaction. But who perceives it? So that is beyond their scope. Even Buddhists also tried. So Buddhists also, but there, Buddha is that state which is beyond Sat, existence, and Asat, non-existence, because it cannot be expressed. But as of now, say I am seeing this world, you are seeing this world. You are different than this world. Similarly, even your thoughts come in your mind. Maybe it is because of changes in chemical action and reaction. But there must be someone who is watching it, who is perceiving this. So this is the Eastern way to identify that there is a spirit, there is a Atman, self, who is the witness of everything. And that is why Swamiji introduced a concept that if everything has evolved from matter to this organization of this body-mind complex, there must be some involution. Then only it evolves. Evolution of what? Which is involved. So this is the conflict. Conflict means one conceives that everything happens because of matter. Another, which Eastern view is everything happens because one is involved and then gradually evolves. So that spirit we are to discover. Otherwise, even mind is also matter, finer matter. How we know that? Okay, you eat, so you think and you perceive something. Stop eating, then your thought process will be hampered. Also, you cannot think anymore. So mind means it depends on matter. So even from Eastern point of view, mind is also a matter. It's not a psyche. It is not spirit. So this is the difference. Now, Narendranath had that dilemma. What should I do? Should I follow this Western way? And if you attend any philosophical seminar, you will be confused what they are talking about. All theological and theories. Somebody thinks this way, somebody thinks that way. So this is a great confusion. Whereas Eastern way is to conceive that there is a higher power. And that power is the self, on whom everything is manifesting. And that is not different from me, not different from the subject. It is subject, and all other objects depend on subject. So we have to discover this subject, and that is the self. As of now, it is all mixed up. So we have to separate, we have to segregate and find out that. So there are ways by devotion, by offering prayers, by offering various articles. That way we are in constant touch with the divine. The second, we have avenue of knowledge. Knowing that everything rationally, that these are all objects. And objects can never be the subject. So we have to find out this. And similarly, by psychic control and also through karma yoga also can be achieved. So this is Eastern way. So this dilemma Narendranath had because he was exposed to various philosophers and traditionally he was exposed to Eastern way. So what is the path that we should follow? Yes.
6. Narendra resolves to realize God, the ultimate truth, and accepts only the positive aspects of the Western system. Although Narendra considered most of Western philosophy's spiritual conclusions to be illogical, he had high regard for the inventions of material science and the Western method of analysis, and he always resorted to scientific methods in his experiments with the truths of psychology and spirituality. From then on, between his FA and BA examinations, he invariably tried to understand the master's extraordinary realizations by analyzing them using scientific methods, accepting as true only those that withstood the test. These he practiced fearlessly. Although he was anxious to experience the truth, it was against his nature to practice any discipline without first understanding it, or to respect anyone out of fear. If atheism was to be the outcome of using his discrimination, then so be it. He would not mind being an atheist. Narendra was ready to pursue truth and unveil the mystery of life, even at the cost of his life, not to speak of worldly pleasures. During this period, he was completely focused on his search for the ultimate truth and kept himself engaged in studying the rational and positive aspects of Western thought. This Western influence, however, led him away from the straightforward path of faith and devotion, leaving him at times oppressed and bewildered by doubt. But his extraordinary perseverance and intellectual strength ultimately prevailed, and he was successful in his pursuit of truth. At that time, people thought that Narendra would indiscriminately accept any opinion that was published in the books of the West. His bias for Western ideas was so well known among his friends that when he read the Gita one day and enthusiastically praised it to them, they were amazed and reported it to the master. The master remarked, "I hope he didn't say that because some Western scholars expressed the same opinion of the Gita."
Yeah. So this is where we find that we must have scientific temper. What about the rishis? Did they also have that scientific temper? Yes, they also. As we find in Mundaka Upanishad, two kinds of vidya. Dve vidye veditavye paracha para. One is supreme knowledge that is to be cultivated, and aparavidya, that means lower knowledge. But those are also essential to improve one's material resources and good living. One must have that aparavidya. So our rishis did not discard, but they found that paravidya, knowledge of self. So it is not to discard, and it is not new that one should only follow Paravidya. For well-being of the society, we must have a Paravidya also. But one should not stop there. Rather, one should proceed for higher truth. So here we find the combination of Eastern and Western. Whatever is material, yes, there is no harm following Western way. But in the matter of spirit, the self, Atman, one should first discover it. And for that, even here, he has to concentrate and dedicate oneself totally. So it is not antagonistic, but it is complementary. So, yes, go ahead. Even in presence of Sri Ramakrishna, once somebody praised Gita and said, Bhagavan Krishna said this. Then Narendranath remarked without any respect, oh, Krishna said, or ye, like this. So that was in the beginning. And that's good. One should not follow blindly. Rather, one should follow understanding the ways and means how to proceed. Otherwise, what will happen? One may be misguided. So, what happened is in the case of Sri Ramakrishna, he took without any discriminating, like whatever was told to him, he followed that path. That's another way. Full faith in the words of Guru. Even Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhya Avadharana. In the words of Guru and in the scriptures, one must have unwavering faith. So, scriptures, what are scriptures? Scriptures are nothing else but experience gained by other seers. It is recorded there, so one must follow that. So Sri Ramakrishna followed without any argumentation, but modern age is not like that. So we also felt that way. So we also used to argue a lot. So until or unless one is convinced intellectually, one may deviate from one's path. So intellectual conviction is also important. But only thing, one should not stop convincing oneself intellectually, but then proceed for finding that truth. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. 7. Narendra's faith in God is sustained at this time by his wonderful visions and his guru's grace. When Narendra came under the influence of Western thought, he had already met the master and was having some extraordinary spiritual experiences. We have already described them to the reader. It seems that these experiences were of great help in maintaining Narendra's faith in God. If he had not had these experiences, it would have been difficult to say how far he would have been carried by Western ideas and philosophies that sought to prove that God, the cause of the universe, is unknowable. Although Narendra's deep-rooted spiritual tendencies would have kept his faith in God from being completely destroyed, it could have been greatly disturbed by the influence of the West. But this was not to be, because Narendra's life was protected by God for the purpose of accomplishing a special mission in this world. By God's grace, he had found Sri Ramakrishna, a true guru, and had taken refuge in him. His guru told him repeatedly, God always listens to the sincere prayers of human beings. I swear that one can see God and talk with him as clearly as you see me and talk with me. One can hear his words and feel his touch. The master said further, you may not believe that God takes different forms or subscribe to common ideas about him. You may consider such ideas to be the products of human imagination. But if you believe in an ultimate reality that is the regulator of the universe, you can pray to it this way. O God, I do not know you. Be gracious and reveal your real nature to me. He will certainly listen to you and grant your grace if your prayer is sincere. The master's words were immensely reassuring to Narendra, and he practiced sadhana with even greater intensity.
Yeah. So there is one thing, if one only follows rationally, there is every chance that he may deviate. Therefore, there must be a strong power of Guru, Shakti. So what happens is, say like a child does not know what is the way. So parents guide that child, or the teachers guide that child. Child has no experience of this world. So there must be some guidance. And it was great fortune that Narendranath had Sri Ramakrishna as his guide. In our lives also, we must have that. Otherwise, only argumentation cannot resolve various intricate situations of this world and life. Very important that we must have that power. And that is why we need to pray. We do not know what God is, but we can pray to him wherever we are, because prayer reaches him. He is antaryami, he is within us. He's not outside of us. We can pray to him. So Narendra also prayed. Narendra also used to pray to God and used to meditate for long hours. Though it was important for the life of Narendranath, for us to go through rational path. And that's why he asked Sri Ramakrishna, sir, have you seen God? And Sri Ramakrishna immediately answered, yes, I have seen. Only I have seen more intensely that I am seeing you. Because when we see through our eyes, it has medium. Medium is, it's called paroksha. Eyes, if my eyes are defective, I cannot see. Similarly, mind also is defective. We see through our mind. So this perception is not correct. But there is one perception, it's called aparoksha anubhuti. Aparoksha means without any intermediary agent, direct knowledge. So Sri Ramakrishna said, I see God only more intensely than I see you. And one can talk to him. One can experience. So, with the guidance of Sri Ramakrishna, Narendra progressed in his spiritual pursuit. Yes.
Narendra's sadhana. William Hamilton, a Western philosopher, says at the end of his book on philosophy that the human intellect stops at the point of indicating the truth that there is a God who controls the universe. The intellect is incapable of revealing the true nature of God, so philosophy ends there. He concludes, where philosophy ends, there religion begins. Narendra was very fond of Hamilton's saying and sometimes referred to it in conversation. Although Narendra concentrated on sadhana, he did not give up his study of philosophy. He spent most of his time on meditation, study, and music.
So one thing important here, that only the grace of Guru will not be enough. One should pursue. One should practice. And Narendra was good at that. See, if somebody guides you, okay, this is the way, and if you go this way, you will reach the downtown or that office. But if someone does not proceed on that way, how can he reach there? So guidance is also important, and one should follow that guidance and try to reach that. So self-effort is also important. Yes.
9. Narendra meditates throughout the night after adopting a new method. From now on, after his BA examination, Narendra adopted a new method of meditation. Earlier, we said that whether we imagine God as having form or as being formless, we have no alternative but to think of God anthropomorphically. Previously, when Narendra meditated on God, he followed the Brahmo belief, thinking of God as formless, but endowed with attributes. But now he considered the Brahmo concept of God to be flawed by human imagination, and he gave up that method. Instead, he prayed wholeheartedly, "O God, please make me fit to see your true nature." He then banished all thoughts and practiced keeping his mind as motionless as the unflickering flame of a lamp in a windless place. After a short while, Narendra's controlled mind would become so absorbed that he sometimes transcended body consciousness and the concept of time. He sat for meditation in his room when members of his family went to sleep, often meditating through the whole night.
Yes, so self-effort is very important. And Narendra did that. It is not at fault if one thinks God has a form, the human form. God can take any form he likes. But human form is much better. That is why our gurus tell us to have a form, because mind is arrested there. Mind is able to concentrate on that form. And not only that, we must have a name also. So our mind is such that we cannot conceive something which has no form, no name. It's very difficult. Therefore, to tame our mind, our gurus have devised this, that okay, repeat a name and try to meditate, try to concentrate on your chosen ideal. By doing this, gradually your mind will be calm and quiet and concentrated. And whatever is discovered, it is only possible when mind is concentrated. Say like this, whatever inventions that we find in this world is because of concentrated mind. If mind is scattered, one cannot concentrate. Therefore, it is better to have a form and also a name, and one also can think of qualities, so that gradually mind is absorbed in that. And then mind will lead to that which is pure mind, and then the truth will be revealed to him. So mind this way will be less turbulent, and gradually mind will lose its mindness. Manasa amani bhavati. Mind becomes no mind. So then the truth is revealed. Yes, go ahead.
10. That form of meditation leads to a wonderful vision of Buddha. As a result of this meditation, Narendra had a divine vision that he described to us later in the course of conversation. He said, "When I removed all objects from my mind and kept it calm, a current of serene bliss flowed within me. Under its influence, I felt a sort of intoxication that would continue even after meditation ended. So I had no inclination to leave my seat immediately. One day when I was still seated after meditation, the room filled with a divine effulgence, and the striking figure of a monk suddenly appeared, standing before me at a little distance. He wore an ochre cloth and held a kamandalu, water pot, in his hand. His face was calm, serene, and indifferent to the world, and its contemplative expression captivated me. He walked towards me slowly, fixing his gaze on me as if he wanted to say something. But I was so seized with fear that I couldn't keep still. I got up, opened the door, and quickly stepped out of the room. The next moment I thought, why should I be afraid? I boldly returned to my room to hear what the monk had to say, but he wasn't there, though I waited for him a long time. I sadly asked myself, why did I foolishly run away without listening to him? I've seen many monks, but never have I seen such an extraordinary expression on any other face. That face was imprinted on my heart forever. I may be wrong, but quite often I think that I was blessed on that day with a vision of Buddha."
So realization of Buddha, because he could separate himself from objects of this world. So pure mind is Buddhahood, Bodhisattva. So we go to the next.
Chapter 8.
In another
Narendra's-
place, in another place, it is mentioned that Buddha entered into him, and that's why we find compassion for ordinary people. And he also compared himself, saying, as Buddha had a message for the East, I have a message for the West. And I'm a voice without a form. So this, what he declared later. So it is possible, see, realization of any higher truth means what? Realization within. It's not only form that he ran away, but when you realize something, like a scientist, when he realizes, oh, the point of eureka, so that experience itself is fulfilling. So it is not that he was away from him, but he realized his Buddhahood. Yes, go ahead.
1. Narendra apprentices to an attorney.
Yeah, this is a new chapter. Narendra's education in the world and from the master. Yes.
1. Narendra apprentices to an attorney. Narendra began spending his time in seclusion, studying, practicing austerities, and visiting Dakshineshwar. To ensure Narendra's future as a lawyer, his father, Vishwanath, apprenticed him to Nimai Charan Basu, a well-known attorney in Calcutta. At the same time, Vishwanath tried to find a suitable bride for Narendra to establish him in a worldly life. But his effort was frustrated because Narendra objected strongly to marriage and because a suitable bride could not be found.
Go ahead.
2. The master advises Narendra to practice unbroken chastity. The master sometimes visited Narendra in his study on Ramtanu Basu Lane and gave him various instructions concerning spiritual disciplines. He always encouraged Narendra to practice brahmacharya and cautioned him to ignore his parents' pleas to tie himself permanently to another in matrimony. The master told Narendra, if a man maintains absolute chastity for 12 years, he develops retentive power. His intellect is then able to penetrate the subtlest things and understand them. Only with the help of such an intellect can one realize God. He reveals himself to an aspirant who is endowed with a pure intellect.
Yeah, like a human being is endowed with certain energies. And the quantum of energy given, if it dissipates through various ways or various pores, so what happens? He loses that and he cannot concentrate. Therefore, in monastic life it is given, but for grihastha life there is certain some relaxation is given, and that is prescribed in the scriptures, so there is no harm about it, but it is especially for monastic aspirant. Yes, go ahead.
3. Narendra's family's fears that he will become a monk because he associates with monks. The ladies in Narendra's household believed that his close association with the master lay behind his refusal to marry. Narendra later told us, one day when the master came to my study and instructed me to practice strict brahmacharya, my grandmother overheard everything and informed my parents. From that day on, they made a great effort to get me married, lest I become a monk through my association with sannyasins. But to what avail? All of their efforts failed when faced with the strong will of the master. Even when they settled everything, the marriage negotiations broke off due to trifling differences between the two parties.
And not only that, Sri Ramakrishna also prayed to the Divine Mother, "Oh Mother, please don't entangle Naren in worldly affairs." So either way, either because of the prayer of Sri Ramakrishna or whatever the reason, that did not happen. Yes. Time. Okay.
Number 4.
Yeah, next.
Oh, 5. Narendra describes his days with the master in Dakshineshwar.
4, I think, no?
Are we 4?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, 4. Narendra continues to visit the master regularly. Although the members of Narendra's household did not like his frequent visits to the master in Dakshineshwar, no one dared to say anything to him because Narendra was very dear to his parents, and because from his childhood onward, he paid no heed to anyone who tried to restrict him in any way. During his youth, he enjoyed complete freedom regarding what he ate, where he went, and so on. Narendra's family knew that if they tried to control the intelligent young man, as one would attempt to restrain a boy or a fickle youth, he would most likely do exactly the opposite of what they wanted. Narendra therefore continued to visit the master in Dakshineshwar as before.
Yeah, this right from his childhood, he was his nature was free and he loved freedom. So this is another trait that we find in great lives, that one should not be influenced by the suggestions that is received from various quarters. Rather, one should be true to oneself, and Narendra was such. So it is time today. Hope everything is okay. There is no question.
I had a question.
Okay, go ahead.
How can we get rid of Pride and ego.
By prayer. Pray to mother. When you pray, naturally your mind is subdued. Very nice question, really. This is the obstacle for our spiritual life. And the root cause of this is our ego. And pride, like one should think, as Holy Mother said, that if you are proud of yourself, then you think that there is someone greater than you. And when you think yourself small and insignificant, then you think that there are so many people who are worse than you. So this is possible when you pray to the Divine Mother. Oh Mother, I understand my shortcomings, lakuni, but Mother, please help me. And Mother helps, know for certain. And we have to find out what is the cause behind it. And know for certain it is the ego that comes in. And because of that ego, pride comes, all problems come. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Ami mole ghuchibe janjal. When this I will die, then only all rubbish will be cleared. So this is very nice. Thank you, Akshay. Is it
Thank
okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So we say prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tatsat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. But you forgot to ask a question. How this ego comes? Right? How this ego comes? This ego comes because of our ignorance, not knowing things correctly. What am I? What is this world? What is real nature? So this ego, avidya, from avidya comes asmita. Then comes liking and disliking. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and clinging to not only life, clinging to my ideas. So avidya, because of ignorance, asmita comes. This ego, aham, main. And from that comes, I like this, I don't like that. Raga and dvesh. And because of that ego comes abhinivesh. Clinging to my life, my likings, my dislikings, my everything. So thank you very much. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Pranam.
Jai Ma.
Pranam,
Swami.
Swami.
Swamiji.
Jai Ma.